She's just a hard-working lady of the night with a face like a bulldog. What's up, horror freaks? I'm your undead guide, Boney Stiff, welcoming you back to the Emporium of Dread, your home for all things horror. Today, we have another installment of Horror on the Tube, a series where I break down some of the most iconic horror TV shows ever to grace the small screen. Today, we're moving on to episode 4 of the iconic HBO horror anthology, Tales from the Crypt. This week's episode is titled Only Sin Deep. This episode is an adaptation of The Haunt of Fear number 24. It was first released in March of 1954 and spins the tale of Sylvia Vane, played by Lea Thompson, a young narcissistic prostitute who sells her beauty to a voodoo-dabbling pawnbroker, played by Britt Leach, so that she can use the money to snag a rich bachelor, Ronnie Price, played by Cullen, but she soon regrets it when her face begins to unexpectedly age at an accelerated rate. This episode was directed by Howard Deutsch, who's known for such works as Pretty in Pink, The Great Outdoors, and Some Kind of Wonderful. Fred Decker returns to pen his second of 5 episodes for the series. Alright, horror freaks, get your popcorn ready, turn the lights low, and hold someone close as we dive into another fear-tastic, scream-packed thrill ride. I give you tonight's episode, Only Sin Deep. This episode starts off on the mean streets where we meet Sylvia and Raven, a couple of hard-working ladies of the night. Working 9 to 5. We get a shot of Sylvia checking herself out and putting on a little fresh coat of makeup after a long and hard night's work. The two then run into Raven's pimp daddy Smitty, who comes to collect his cut from this evening's services. Old Smitty then tries to sweet-talk Sylvia into working for him, where he warns her about what happens to pretty girls with an attitude out there on the streets.
Yeah, pretty girl like you could get ugly real fast with an attitude.
Then we cut to Sylvia and Raven watching rich playboy Ronnie Price, played by Brett Cullen, leaving a limo and heading into his penthouse for a little party time. Then Sylvia tells Raven she's going to get herself a little piece of Mr. GQ over there, but Raven tells her to dream on. Which Sylvia replies, "What she got I ain't got."
What she got that I ain't got?
It's a man, baby!
Then Sylvia tells Raven to step back and watch as she makes her way over to Pimp Daddy Smitty, luring him into a back alley where she holds him at gunpoint and robs the poor businessman.
That's right. Strictly business.
Hey, what's up, baby?
The two then get into a little scuffle where she smokes him faster than a joint on Willie Nelson's tour bus. I'd like to believe that this story actually takes place in the timeline of Back to the Future 2, where Marty's mom marries Biff, and all of this is kind of a How I Met Your Mother situation. Anyway, we cut to a pawn shop where we see our street-walking princess Sylvia trying to pawn off poor old Smitty's jewelry.
Why'd you say you got this stuff?
But the pawnbroker, played by Britt Leach, ain't having it. He tells Sylvia that the goods are just too hot and he can't touch them. And just when Sylvia's about to walk out the door empty-handed, the pawnbroker tells her he's got something else he'd like to buy off of her.
$10,000.
So he takes her to the back where he tells her that he'll give her $10K if she lets him spread this white bowl of goo on her face so he can have her beauty. The pawnbroker tells her she's only got 4 months to get her beauty back or he keeps it forever. So of course she's down for a little pawn shop facial. So after Sylvia leaves, we see the creepy pawn shop dude doing a little witchcraft, and we learn he's keeping the corpse of his dead bride in a coffin in the back of his shop, turning this into an episode of Pawn Stars Necrophilia Edition.
Like the day we were married.
Then we get this 80s montage of Sylvia leveling up so she can win over the rich playboy from earlier. Okay, so we get like a 3-minute montage of her trying on all these fancy clothes, and we see her getting her hair done and whatnot, but later when she heads over to the old boy's penthouse party, she literally looks exactly the same as she did before. So she heads on up to the party where she gets Ronnie's attention, where the two introduce themselves to one another.
Sylvia Vane. That's V-A-N-E as in weather.
I'm Ronnie Price, as in everyone has theirs.
After playing hard to get, Sylvia bags her penthouse playboy.
You knew the second I walked in the room, the second I walked through that door, that I'm the girl of your dreams.
We then cut to 4 months later where we see our street-walking woman has moved on up.
Yeah, we're moving on now.
Who knew Tales from the Crypt was the inspiration for Pretty Woman? We see the two lovebirds sharing a little champagne in the bathtub, where Ronnie gives Sylvia a little bling and tells her about how she was right about being the woman of his dreams. After Ronnie leaves, we see Sylvia checking herself out where it looks like her cheese is starting to slide off of her cracker. We're then treated to a scene where the two spend a little sexy time together, where apparently Sylvia can only get off by staring at herself in the mirror. So later we see Ronnie's heading off on a business trip, and Sylvia's developed a wicked case of crow's feet. So she's doing her best to hide her looks from Ronnie by using tons of makeup and hiding in the shadows, which for her former profession she should be really right at home with.
Give me a kiss goodbye.
Then we see Sylvia all dressed in black like she's going to a funeral paying her doctor a little visit about her strange aging face. The doc lets her know that for some strange reason her face is aging at an accelerated rate.
Frankly, your skin seems to be aging at an accelerating rate.
It's then she's struck with the realization that it must have something to do with that pawn shop dude and his big bowl of face cream.
Semen.
Months or so when you might have come into contact with a toxic material, for example, like water, gases.
So she heads back to the pawn shop with her 10K and demands her beauty back. But sadly, the broker tells her that she just missed the deadline for the refund by 1 day.
You didn't look at this too careful, did you? I told you the time limit was 4 months. 4 months from this date is the 4th. Today's the 5th.
So too fucking bad. So after she pulls a gun on him, he tells her, yeah, I'll give you your face back, but for 100K.
100,000.
But just as she's about to smoke this fool, a cop walks in. She has to hide her gun and take off. We then see the cop and the pawnbroker having a little laugh over how ugly she looks.
4 bits, show me.
Yeah. Must be Alpo time, huh?
So Sylvia heads back to her penthouse where she starts trashing the place and starts gathering up all of her fancy jewelry in an effort to get the money. Then Ronnie walks in but doesn't recognize Sylvia's new face and goes to call the cops, so Sylvia pulls out a gun and shoots Ronnie dead.
Yeah, I'd like to report a burglary.
Go ahead.
The address is 30.
So she heads back to the pawn shop, but it's closed, so she breaks in the back door with a trash can and sneaks into the back door where she sees a cabinet full of heads made from the pawnbroker's magic face paste. Then she stumbles across the broker's necrophilia bride, looking a bit more fleshy than the last time we saw her. The pawnbroker comes in and tells Sylvia that that's how she used to look back in the day, and how he has to steal other women's beauty to keep her looking that way, and that it's a small price to pay to not have to use a sock.
Now I need other women's beauty just to keep her that way.
So Sylvia hands over all the jewels and demands her beauty back, and the broker tells her he can do that, but are you sure that's what you want? And he shows her the newspaper headline of her wanted for murder of her former lover, Ronnie. So the cop from earlier comes in and the broker and him have a little chat about the killing in the paper, where the cop tells the broker that she left the gun at the crime scene along with her fingerprints, and that the gun is linked to the killing of old pimp daddy Smitty from earlier, and that if she shows her face around here, they're going to fry her on the electric chair.
Broad. She stole every scrap of jewelry the guy bought for her. Then she offs the guy, leaves the murder weapon on the floor.
Overhearing the conversation from the back room, Sylvia swipes her face mold and sneaks out the back door. We then cut to the final scene where Sylvia bumps into her old friend Raven, where she drops the face on the ground and it shatters after a really heartfelt apology from Raven.
Why don't you watch where you going? You old, ugly, trifling bitch.
Sylvia is left crying in the street, holding the pieces of her broken face.
Just goes to show you, if you want to sell yourself, take a look in the mirror first. Well, see you next time, boys and girls.
All right, horror freaks, that does it for this episode. Drop me a line in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, stay stiff.